My stepson burned my baby with hot water while my husband was away. Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. I never thought I would be the kind of woman who married a man with a child. Not because I had anything against it, but because I had always imagined my life would follow a simpler path. Meet someone, fall in love, get married, have children together. Clean, uncomplicated. Mine. Life had other plans. I met Marcus at a charity fundraiser I had been dragged to by a coworker. I was 26, working as a pediatric nurse, and I had no interest in being there. I spent most of the evening standing near the refreshments table, pretending to look interested while checking my phone every few minutes. He approached me with 2 glasses of champagne and a crooked smile. "You look about as thrilled to be here as I am," he said, offering me one of the glasses. I took it, grateful for something to do with my hands. That obvious? Only to someone who feels the same way. He had warm brown eyes and an easy manner that immediately put me at ease. Marcus. Claire. We talked for the rest of the evening, and I learned that he was an engineer, recently divorced, with a 7-year-old son named Tyler. He spoke about his son with such obvious love and pride that I found myself charmed despite my usual wariness around divorced men. "Tyler's my whole world," he said. "I mean, the divorce was hard, but at least we're doing joint custody. He spends half the week with me, half with his mom. It's not perfect, but we're making it work." "That must be difficult," I said. "It is. But he's worth it. He's the best thing I've ever done." He looked at me with those warm eyes. "Sorry, I'm probably boring you. I just can't help talking about him." "No, it's sweet," I said, and I meant it. There was something attractive about a man who loved his child so openly, so completely. We exchanged numbers that night, and he called me 2 days later. Our first date was coffee, which turned into lunch, which turned into a walk through the park that lasted until the sun went down. Our second date was dinner. Our third was a movie where we barely watched the screen because we were too busy talking in whispers. "I need to tell you something," he said on our 4th date, his expression serious. "I really like you, Claire, more than I expected to like anyone this soon after my divorce. But I need you to understand that Tyler comes first. Always. If you're not okay with that, I understand. But I need to know now." "I get it," I said. "And honestly, I'd be worried if you said anything else. Your son should come first." He smiled, relieved, and kissed me for the first time. We dated for 6 months before he introduced me to Tyler. He wanted to make sure we were serious, that I wasn't just going to be another person who drifted in and out of his son's life. I appreciated that, even though I was nervous. Tyler was 8 by then, a small boy with his father's brown eyes and his mother's blonde hair. He was quiet when we met, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not hostile exactly, but wary. Guarded. "Hi, Tyler," I said, crouching down to his level. "Your dad's told me so much about you. He says you're really good at drawing." Tyler shrugged. "I guess." "Maybe you could show me some of your drawings sometime?" Another shrug. "Maybe." So, it wasn't exactly a warm reception, but Marcus assured me later that it was fine, that Tyler was just shy with new people, that he would warm up to me eventually. He didn't. Over the next year, as Marcus and I grew closer, and I spent more time at his house, Tyler remained distant. Not rude, exactly, but reserved. He answered my questions with 1 or 2 words. He never initiated conversation with me. When I tried to engage him in activities, cooking together, or playing games, He participated minimally, doing just enough to avoid being scolded by his father, but never with any real enthusiasm. "Give him time," Marcus kept saying. "He's still adjusting to the divorce. It's not about you." I tried to believe that. I tried to be patient, to not take it personally. I read books about being a step-parent, articles about blended families, forums where other women shared their struggles with distant stepchildren. Everyone said the same thing: be patient, be consistent, don't try to replace the biological parent, give them space. So I did all of that. I was patient, I was consistent. I never tried to mother him or discipline him or overstep. I just tried to be a friendly, stable presence in his life. And then Marcus proposed. We had been together for 2 years. He took me to the same park where we had spent our first date, got down on one knee under a tree where we had once carved our initials, and asked me to marry him. I said yes, without hesitation. Tyler was there when Marcus told him. His mother had dropped him off that morning, and Marcus sat him down in the living room, me next to him on the couch, and explained that we were getting married, that we were going to be a family. Tyler's face went blank, completely expressionless. "Okay," he said. "Is that okay with you, buddy?" Marcus asked gently. "I know this is a big change." "You're going to do what you want anyway," Tyler said flatly. "So it doesn't matter what I think." "That's not true." "Your opinion matters to me." "Fine. Then I think it's stupid. You barely know her." "Tyler," Marcus said, his voice sharp, "that's not appropriate." Tyler stood up. "Can I go to my room now?" Marcus looked pained but nodded. Tyler left without another word. "He'll come around," Marcus said, taking my hand. "He just needs time to adjust to the idea." I wanted to believe him. I really did. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Tyler was there, standing next to his father as the best man, wearing a suit that was slightly too big for him. He smiled for the photos, hugged his father, even hugged me stiffly when prompted. But his eyes were cold. The first few months of marriage were an adjustment. I moved into Marcus's house, the house he had bought after the divorce, and tried to make it feel like ours rather than his. I added my touches carefully. New curtains, some plants, photos of us together on the walls. Nothing too dramatic. Nothing that would make Tyler feel like I was erasing his presence. Tyler spent Monday through Thursday with us, Friday through Sunday with his mother. Those 3 days without him were a relief, if I was being honest. When he was gone, Marcus and I could relax, be ourselves, enjoy each other's company without the constant tension of Tyler's silent resentment. When he was there, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. Every interaction was careful, measured. I asked about his day at school. I helped him with homework when he allowed it. I made his favorite foods for dinner. I praised his artwork and his test scores and his soccer games, and he gave me nothing in return. Monosyllabic answers, tight smiles, a wall that I couldn't scale no matter how hard I tried. "Maybe he needs therapy," I suggested to Marcus one night after Tyler had gone to bed. "This level of anger can't be healthy for him." "He's seeing someone," Marcus said. "His mom and I agreed to it last year. The therapist says he's processing the divorce in his own way, that we just need to be patient." "It's been 3 years since the divorce, Marcus. How much more patient should we be?" He looked at me with tired eyes. "I don't know, but he's my son, Claire. I can't just give up on him." "I'm not asking you to give up on him. I'm asking you to consider that maybe professional help could—" "He is getting professional help," Marcus said, his voice rising slightly. "What more do you want me to do?" I didn't answer. I didn't know what I wanted him to do. I just knew that living with Tyler's hostility was exhausting, and I didn't know how much longer I could keep pretending everything was fine. And then I got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but it wasn't exactly a surprise either. We hadn't been trying, but we hadn't been particularly careful. When the test came back positive, I stared at it for a long time, feeling equal parts joy and terror. How was Tyler going to react to this? Marcus was thrilled when I told him. He picked me up and spun me around, laughing, kissing me, already planning. "A baby," he kept saying. We're going to have a baby. What about Tyler? I asked. His smile faded slightly. He'll adjust. He'll have to. We told Tyler a week later, sitting him down at the kitchen table the same way we had when we announced our engagement. Tyler, buddy, we have some news, Marcus began. Claire's pregnant. You're going to be a big brother. Tyler's face went through a series of expressions so quickly I could barely track them. Shock, anger, hurt, and then that familiar blank mask. Congratulations, he said tonelessly. This is a good thing, Marcus said. I know it's a change, but it's a happy change. You're going to have a little brother or sister. Great, Tyler said. Can I go now? Don't you want to talk about it? What's there to talk about? You're having a baby, that's it. He stood up. Can I please go to my room? Marcus sighed and nodded. Tyler left, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. He'll come around, Marcus said again, but he sounded less certain this time. The pregnancy was difficult. I had terrible morning sickness that lasted well into the second trimester. I was exhausted constantly, falling asleep on the couch at 7 in the evening, barely able to drag myself to work. Marcus was supportive, taking over more of the household duties, making sure I rested. Tyler, meanwhile, became even more withdrawn. He barely spoke to me at all anymore. He ate dinner in silence, did his homework in his room, spent his time at home either in his room or outside, anywhere that wasn't near me. When I tried to engage him, asking if he wanted to feel the baby kick or help pick out nursery colors, he refused. I don't care, he said. It's your baby, not mine. It's your sibling, I said gently. Don't you want to be involved? No, he said simply and walked away. I cried to Marcus about it more than once. He hates me, I said, and now he's going to hate the baby too. He doesn't hate you. He's just struggling with the change. Once the baby's born, once he sees how sweet and small and helpless it is, he'll soften. I know he will. I wanted to believe him. I tried to believe him. Our daughter was born in late September, a tiny, perfect thing with wisps of dark hair and my blue eyes. We named her Emma, and from the moment I held her, I loved her with a fierceness that surprised me. I had loved before, of course. I loved Marcus. But this was different. This was primal, protective, all-consuming. Tyler met her in the hospital. Marcus brought him in, and he stood at the foot of my bed, looking at the bundle in my arms with an expression I couldn't read. Want to hold her? Marcus asked. No, Tyler said. She's too small. I might drop her. You won't drop her. Come on, buddy. This is your sister. I said no, Tyler said, his voice sharp. Can we go now? Marcus looked hurt, but nodded. They left a few minutes later, and I held Emma closer, a cold feeling settling in my stomach. The first few months with a newborn were as exhausting as everyone had warned me they would be. Emma was colicky, crying for hours every evening, only settling when I walked her around the house, bouncing gently, singing softly. I was running on 3 hours of sleep a night, stumbling through my days in a fog of exhaustion. Marcus helped when he could, but his job required frequent travel. He was gone 3 or 4 days a week, leaving me alone with Emma and Tyler. Those were the hardest days. Tyler's resentment toward Emma was palpable. He never hurt her, never did anything overtly cruel, but his dislike was obvious. When she cried, he would roll his eyes and turn up his headphones. When I asked him to watch her for just a minute while I used the bathroom, he would sigh dramatically and agree with visible reluctance. I didn't ask for a baby sister, he said once. I know, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. But she's here now, and she's part of our family. She's your family. She's your family, he corrected, not mine. I didn't know how to respond to that. How do you explain to a 12-year-old that family isn't just blood, that love can expand to include new people without diminishing what came before? I didn't have the energy to try. Marcus kept insisting that Tyler would adjust, that he just needed more time, that forcing the issue would only make things worse. So I tried to give him space, tried to not put too much responsibility on him, tried to just coexist peacefully. But the tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Emma was 4 months old when it happened. Marcus had been gone for 2 days, at a conference in Chicago. Tyler was with us for the week, his mother having taken a trip with her new boyfriend. I was alone with both of them, managing feedings and diapers and Tyler's sullen presence. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Emma had finally fallen asleep after a difficult morning of fussing. I had laid her in her crib in the nursery upstairs, made sure the baby monitor was on, and then went downstairs to make lunch. Tyler was in the living room, playing video games with his headphones on. I made sandwiches, tidied the kitchen, and was just starting to relax when I heard it. A scream. A high-pitched, agonized shriek that didn't sound human. Emma. I ran. I dropped the dish I was holding, barely registered the sound of it shattering on the floor, and ran up the stairs so fast I nearly fell. My heart was pounding, my breath coming in gasps, terror flooding my system. I burst into the nursery and saw Tyler standing next to Emma's crib, holding an empty electric kettle in his hands, the kind we used for tea, the cord still dangling. Emma was screaming, her face bright red, her little body writhing, and her chest, her arms, her face, they were wet, soaked. Steam was rising from her tiny body. "What did you do?" I screamed. "What did you do?" I shoved Tyler aside and grabbed Emma, pulling her from the crib. Her skin was already blistering, angry red marks spreading across her delicate flesh. She was screaming, a sound I had never heard before, a sound of pure agony. "Call 911, I screamed at Tyler. "Call 911 right now." He just stood there, the kettle still in his hands, his face pale and shocked. "Now!" I screamed again. He dropped the kettle and ran. I carried Emma to the bathroom, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn on the faucet. Cool water. I needed cool water. That's what we did for burns, wasn't it? Cool water, not cold. I held her under the gentle stream, trying to be careful, trying not to make it worse, and she screamed and screamed and screamed. "I'm sorry," I was saying, crying, barely aware of my own words. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." But I didn't know if she was going to be okay. The burns looked bad. Really bad. And she was so small, so fragile. Tyler appeared in the doorway. "They're coming," he said. His voice was shaking. "What did you do?" I asked again, looking at him through my tears. "Why would you do this?" "I didn't," he started. "I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean what? To burn her? You poured boiling water on a baby. What did you think would happen?" "I didn't think—" His voice broke. "I just wanted." But I didn't hear the rest because the doorbell was ringing, and then there were paramedics in my house, taking Emma from my arms, examining her, talking in calm professional voices that contrasted sharply with my hysteria. They put her on a stretcher, so small on that adult-sized equipment, and loaded her into the ambulance. I climbed in after her, barely remembering to grab my phone, not even thinking about shoes. I was in my socks. "What hospital?" I managed to ask. "Children's Memorial," one of the paramedics said. "Are you Mom?" Yes, I'm her mother." The drive was a blur. They worked on Emma, putting in an IV, covering her burns with sterile dressings, monitoring her vitals. She was still crying, but weaker now, her voice hoarse from screaming. "Is she going to be okay?" I kept asking. "Please, is she going to be okay?" "We're doing everything we can," they said, which was not an answer. At the hospital, they took her away immediately. A nurse directed me to a waiting room, asked me questions I could barely answer. Name, age, insurance information. "What happened?" "My stepson," I said, my voice breaking. "He poured boiling water on her. I don't know why. I don't know what happened." The nurse's expression shifted, became more guarded. "We'll need to call the police," she said. "This is a mandatory report." I nodded numbly. Of course. Of course they would call the police. A baby didn't get burns like that by accident. I called Marcus. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. He answered on the second ring. Claire? Is everything— Emma's in the hospital, I said, my voice breaking. Tyler, he burned her with boiling water. I don't know what happened. I was downstairs, and I heard her screaming, and— What? What are you talking about? Tyler burned Emma! I was shouting now, hysteria rising. He poured boiling water on her, Marcus. Our baby is in the hospital with second-degree burns because your son— That's not possible. Tyler wouldn't— I saw him! I screamed. I saw him standing there with the kettle in his hands. I saw the water on her. I saw the burns. Claire, calm down. You're not making sense. Tyler wouldn't hurt Emma. There has to be an explanation. I am making sense. Your son hurt our daughter. Where are you? I'm in Chicago. I'm at the conference. I can catch a flight. Get here, I said, my voice cold now. Get here now. I hung up before he could respond. The next few hours were a nightmare. Police came, asked me questions, took my statement. A detective, a woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice, asked me to walk her through everything. What I had seen, what Tyler had said, what happened before. Did you see him pour the water? She asked. No, but he was standing right there with the kettle, and Emma was— I couldn't finish. The image of my daughter's burned skin, her tiny face contorted in agony, was seared into my brain. We'll need to speak with Tyler, she said. Where is he now? I realized with a start that I didn't know. I had left him at the house. I called him, and he answered on the first ring. Is she okay? He asked immediately. Where are you? At home. I didn't know if I should— I didn't know what to do. The police want to talk to you, I said. Stay there. I gave the detective my address. She left, along with another officer. A doctor finally came to talk to me. She was young, with tired eyes, and a professional manner. Mrs. Harper, I'm Dr. Patel. I've been treating Emma. Is she okay? I asked, standing up so quickly the room spun. Please, is she okay? She's stable, Dr. Patel said. The burns are serious, mostly second degree, with some areas of third degree. She's going to need skin grafts, probably multiple surgeries, but she's alive, and with treatment, she should recover. Should recover, not will recover. Should. Can I see her? Soon. We're still working on her, but I need to ask you some questions first. How did this happen? I told her everything I had told the police. She listened without interrupting, taking notes. Children's services will be involved, she said gently. This is a serious injury to an infant. They'll want to investigate, make sure Emma is safe. Safe? She's safe with me. I would never— I understand, but this is protocol. A child was severely injured in your home. They have to investigate. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that I wasn't the one who hurt Emma, that I was her mother, that I loved her more than anything in the world, but I just nodded, too exhausted to fight. Marcus arrived 6 hours later. I was sitting by Emma's bedside in the pediatric intensive care unit, watching her sleep. She was covered in bandages, attached to monitors and IVs, her little chest rising and falling with sedated breaths. She looked so small in the hospital bed, so fragile. He came in quietly, and when I looked up at him, I saw that he looked terrible. His eyes were red, his face drawn. How is she? He asked softly. Burned, I said flatly. Your son burned her with boiling water. Claire. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't defend him. Don't tell me there's an explanation. I saw what I saw. I talked to Tyler, he said. He says it was an accident. He says he was making tea, and he didn't realize she was right there, and— She was in her crib, Marcus. In her crib. How is that an accident? He didn't answer. He did this on purpose, I said, my voice shaking. Your son intentionally hurt our daughter. And you know what the worst part is? I'm not even surprised. I'm not surprised at all. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've watched him resent her since the day she was born. Hell, since before she was born. I've watched him refuse to hold her, refuse to acknowledge her, look at her like she's some kind of invader in his life. And I told you he needed help, that his anger wasn't normal, and you kept saying he'd adjust, that he just needed time. Well, this is what happens when you give an angry, resentful child time. That's not fair, Marcus said, but his voice was weak. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Our 4-month-old daughter is lying in a hospital bed with burns covering 20% of her body because your son poured boiling water on her. Don't talk to me about fair. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Marcus said, "The police want to see the security camera footage." I had forgotten about the cameras. We had installed them 6 months ago, a nanny cam in the nursery and one in the living room, just for peace of mind. Marcus had set them up to record to the cloud. Have you watched it? I asked. No, I wanted to wait for you. We went to the waiting room and pulled up the footage on his phone. I didn't want to watch, I didn't want to see it, but I needed to know. The timestamp showed 1:47 p.m. The camera had a clear view of Emma's crib and most of the nursery. On the screen, Tyler entered the room. He was carrying the electric kettle, steam rising from the spout. He walked slowly, carefully, toward the crib. Emma was sleeping, her tiny arms above her head in that way babies sleep. Tyler stood over the crib for a long moment, just stood there, looking down at her. And then, deliberately, carefully, he tilted the kettle and poured. Emma's screams started immediately. Tyler jumped back, looking shocked, as if he hadn't expected that reaction. He stood frozen for a moment, and then I appeared in the doorway, and the rest played out as I remembered. Marcus's face was white. He watched the video 3 times, each time seeming to age years. He did it on purpose, I said quietly. You saw it. He stood there, and he thought about it, and he did it anyway. He's 12 years old, Marcus said, but his voice was hollow. He's just a child. So is Emma, but she's the one in the hospital. The detective came by later that evening. We showed her the footage. Her face remained professionally neutral, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Anger, maybe, or sadness. We'll need to take Tyler into custody, she said. Given his age and the circumstances, he'll likely be placed in juvenile detention while we determine how to proceed. He's not a criminal, Marcus said. He's my son. He severely injured an infant, the detective said, not unkindly. This isn't something we can overlook. He needs to be evaluated, and the baby needs to be protected. Marcus looked like he was going to be sick. They arrested Tyler that night. They didn't handcuff him because of his age, but they took him away in a police car. I wasn't there, but Marcus was. He came back to the hospital at midnight, and he looked broken. He kept saying he was sorry, Marcus said, sitting down heavily in the chair next to Emma's bed. He kept saying he didn't mean for it to be this bad, that he just wanted her to stop crying all the time, to go away. He said, his voice broke, he said he didn't think it would hurt that much. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? I failed him, Marcus continued. I saw the signs, the anger, the resentment, and I told myself it would get better. I didn't want to believe my son could do something like this. I didn't want to see it. You failed Emma too, I said quietly. You chose to ignore Tyler's problems, and now our daughter is paying the price. He flinched but didn't argue. Emma was in the hospital for 3 weeks. She underwent 2 surgeries to graft skin from her thighs, to cover the worst of the burns on her chest and arms. The doctors said she would have scars, permanent ones, but that she would heal. Physically, at least. I never left her side. I slept in a chair next to her bed, ate when nurses brought me food, barely showered. Marcus came and went, splitting his time between the hospital and meetings with lawyers and therapists and social workers. Tyler was in a juvenile detention facility, undergoing psychiatric evaluation. The psychologist's report, when it came, was damning. Tyler showed signs of significant behavioral issues, possible conduct disorder, deep-seated resentment toward his stepmother and half-sister. The psychologist recommended long-term residential treatment. Marcus was devastated. His son, his baby boy, the child he loved more than anything, was being labeled as dangerous, disturbed, in need of serious intervention. "This is my fault," he kept saying. "I should have gotten him more help. I should have seen this coming." "Yes," I agreed. "You should have." We didn't talk much during those weeks. There wasn't much to say. Our marriage, whatever it had been, was shattered. Every time I looked at Marcus, I saw Tyler. I saw the boy who had hurt my baby, and I saw the father who had enabled him. When Emma was finally discharged, we went home to a house that felt like a stranger's. The nursery had been cleaned, the crib replaced, but I couldn't bring myself to put Emma in there. Instead, I set up a bassinet in our bedroom, keeping her close, where I could see her always. Marcus and I had the conversation 2 days after we came home. Emma was sleeping, and we were sitting in the living room, the silence between us heavy and oppressive. "I can't do this anymore," I said. He looked at me, and I saw that he had been expecting this. "I understand. I can't be here. I can't live in this house. I can't be married to you. Claire, every time I look at you, I see Tyler. I see you defending him, making excuses for him, ignoring all the signs that something was wrong. And I see Emma burned because you didn't protect her." "You're right," he said quietly. "You're absolutely right. But Claire, I love you. I love Emma. And I'm trying to make this right." "How? How can you make this right? Our daughter has scars she'll carry for the rest of her life. She's 4 months old, and she's already been traumatized in ways we can't even understand yet. Tyler is getting help, real help. He's in a residential facility now, and he'll be there for at least a year, maybe more. He won't be around Emma, I'll make sure of that. That's not enough. What do you want me to do?" he asked, and I heard the desperation in his voice. "Tell me what to do, and I'll do it." "I want you to have chosen differently," I said. "I want you to have listened when I told you Tyler needed help. I want you to have protected our daughter instead of protecting your son's feelings. But I can't have that. So I'm leaving." "Please," he said, and he was crying now. "Please don't take her away from me. She's my daughter too." "I know, and I won't keep her from you, but I can't stay married to you. I can't stay in this house. I can't do this." We separated the following week. I moved into a small apartment across town with Emma. Marcus helped with the move, carrying boxes and setting up furniture with the same quiet devastation that had marked the past month. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. We worked out custody. Marcus could see Emma supervised visits only, at least until Emma was older. He agreed without argument. He paid child support, more than was required, and called every day to ask about Emma. Tyler remained in the residential treatment facility. The criminal charges against him were handled in juvenile court. Because of his age and the psychologist's report, he was sentenced to the facility until he turned 18, with the possibility of release earlier if he showed significant progress. I didn't know if I would ever forgive him. I didn't know if forgiveness was even appropriate. He had hurt my child. He had scarred her, physically and emotionally. And while I understood, intellectually, that he was also a child, that he was struggling with issues beyond his control, my heart couldn't reconcile that with what he had done. Emma is 2 years old now. She's a bright, happy little girl who loves to sing and dance and read books. The scars on her chest and arms have faded somewhat, but are still visible. She's too young to ask about them yet, but someday she will, and I'll have to find a way to explain what happened. Marcus sees her once a week, supervised visits at a family center. He's good with her, gentle and loving, and she seems to enjoy seeing him. But she doesn't remember living with him. To her, he's just someone she sees sometimes, not Dad in the way he should be. I don't know if I did the right thing, leaving. Some days I think I should have tried harder, should have found a way to forgive, to rebuild. Other days, I'm certain that leaving was the only choice that kept Emma safe. Tyler writes to me sometimes, letters from the facility, apologizing, explaining, begging for forgiveness. I don't respond. I can't. Maybe someday I'll be able to, when Emma is older, when enough time has passed. But not now. Marcus asks about reconciliation sometimes. Not often, but occasionally. We were good once, he'll say. We could be good again. But we can't. That life, that family, it's gone. It died the day his son burned my baby. I've built a new life now, just Emma and me. It's smaller, quieter, lonelier sometimes, but it's safe. Emma is safe. And that's all that matters. I still have nightmares about that day. I hear Emma's screams, see Tyler standing over her crib, feel the panic and terror of not knowing if my baby would survive. I wake up gasping, check on Emma compulsively, make sure she's breathing, that she's okay. She is okay. She's more than okay. She's thriving. But the scars remain. On her body, yes. But also on our family, on the life we might have had, on the trust that was broken that day. I don't know what the morale of this story is. I don't know if there is one. Maybe it's just that some things can't be fixed. Some betrayals are too deep. Some wounds don't heal. Or maybe it's that protection matters more than forgiveness. That a mother's first duty is to keep her child safe, even if it means walking away from everything else. I chose Emma. I would choose her 1,000 times over, and I would do it all again.